You're not just one person. Jung explains why. Let me ask you something rather unsettling. Have you ever felt like there's someone else inside you? Not metaphorically, but truly another you. A darker, quieter voice that whispers when no one is around. Or perhaps the version of you that smiles in public, but grows tense in solitude. Carl Jung didn't think this was a quirk. He believed it was fundamental to being human. He would say, "You are not just one person, you are many, and until you face the parts you've hidden, you'll never be whole." You see, every day we perform. At work, we present ourselves as confident, competent, agreeable. Around friends, we loosen up, perhaps sarcastic, wild, a bit careless. At home, in private, another version emerges entirely. Each of these selves is real, but none of them is the full picture. Jung called this our persona, a mask we wear to survive, to function, to be accepted. It is not fake, but it is curated. The persona is shaped by reward and punishment. Behave in a way society likes, and you're praised. Show traits it frowns upon, and you're shamed. So you learn, often without realizing, suppress what doesn't fit. Display only what pleases. But here's the cost. The more you identify with the mask, the more you forget who you were before it. And the question becomes, what happens to the parts of yourself that don't make it onto the stage? Anger, fear, vulnerability, rebellion, even brilliance or passion, if they weren't encouraged, they don't vanish, they hide. Jung called this the shadow. It's not simply the dark or bad parts of the self, it's everything you've exiled. And the longer it's exiled, the more powerful it becomes. You see it in those moments when you say or do something completely out of character. A flash of cruelty, a wave of envy, a sudden rage. You feel shocked, maybe ashamed, wondering, where did that come from? Jung would answer, it came from the part of you you've refused to acknowledge. He once wrote, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The shadow is not evil, it's repressed. And what's repressed returns in distorted form. It shows up in projections. We despise in others what we secretly fear in ourselves. We mock, judge, and distance ourselves from traits we don't want to face. But the shadow is also a source of vitality. Buried in the dark corners of your psyche are instincts, desires, energies that can be transformative if reclaimed. Think of someone who's always been the nice guy, suppressing anger his entire life. That anger might eventually explode in destructive ways, or, if acknowledged, it might become the fuel for setting boundaries, demanding justice, or finally speaking truth. This is why Jung didn't suggest we get rid of the shadow. He believed we must integrate it, to see it, name it, understand it, not obey it, but not deny it either. This is the beginning of what Jung called individuation, becoming who you truly are, not who you're expected to be. Shadow integration is uncomfortable. It requires humility. It demands that you admit you're not just the good, polished version of yourself, that you are also the chaos you fear, the impulses you hide, the contradictions you live with. But that confrontation is the source of power, because what you hide controls you until you bring it into the light. The process doesn't end there. Jung also believed that every psyche contains both masculine and feminine qualities, regardless of biological sex. In men, the inner feminine, is called the anima. In women, the inner masculine is the animus. These are not gender roles, but archetypes. They represent the balancing forces within us, rational and emotional, active and receptive, logical and intuitive. If a man represses his anima, he may struggle with empathy, creativity, emotional depth. If a woman denies her animus, she might struggle with agency, assertiveness, or rational confidence. But when embraced, these inner figures offer strength, insight, and psychological completeness. All of this, the persona, the shadow, the anima and animus, is part of the inner architecture that Jung believed we must face in order to live authentically. And that brings us back to the question, who are you? Not just the version of yourself others recognize, not just the you that you've cultivated for success or survival. Who are you when no one is watching? What longings have you buried? What fears have you disguised as control? What desires have you pretended not to feel? Jung believed we spend the first half of life building the ego. We learn how to function, how to belong, how to win approval. But the second half of life, if we are brave enough, is for disassembling that construct, for going inward, for finding the parts we lost along the way. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more whole, more complex, more real. You're not just one person. You are the mask. You are the one behind it. You are the fears you've hidden and the potential you've buried. You are the shadow you avoid and the power it contains. Jung would say, wholeness is not perfection. It is embracing contradiction. Light and dark, masculine and feminine, strength and softness, rationality and instinct. And in that embrace, there is freedom. The modern world, however, teaches the opposite. It rewards a streamlined identity. It demands clarity, confidence, control. It fears contradiction. And so, the parts that don't fit, our doubts, our emotions, our strangeness, are pushed deeper underground. But the unconscious is not a trash bin. It is an ecosystem. And when we silence it, we lose access to the very forces that make us fully human. This is why Jung valued dreams so deeply. They are the language of the unconscious, the stage where all parts of us, especially the ones we hide, can speak freely. In dreams, the persona falls away. The shadow steps forward. The anima or animus appears. And if we pay attention, we can learn what the ego alone cannot teach us. In one of Jung's most famous cases, a man dreamed of a cave filled with treasure, but it was guarded by a snake. Jung didn't interpret this as superstition. He saw it as a clear image of the psyche. The treasure of wholeness lies buried, but to reach it, we must face the instinctual, the feared, the repressed. He believed these internal images, these symbols, were not random. They were invitations. Invitations to go deeper, to face ourselves, to grow not outward, but inward. Jung's psychology is not about fixing what's broken. It's about recovering what's been lost. And often what's been lost is you. Not the you that fits a resume, or pleases a parent or earns applause, but the wild, paradoxical, complicated you, the one that existed before the world told you who to be. So let me leave you with this. What part of yourself have you been hiding the longest, and what would happen if you brought it into the light? Curious minds never stop. Subscribe to keep exploring.